people 9 times out of 10 in the day, they'll come in and say to me, I hate the dentist. And I'm just like, you didn't even give it a chance. Like,
Yeah.
I want to change your perception of what dentistry can be, because it's not all about discomfort. It can be about beauty too.
Are you tired of feeling like a contortionist after a long day working in clinical practice? This message is brought to you by our sponsors at Designs for Vision, who are offering you a 45-day free trial of any of their loops. But I strongly encourage you to try their ergonomic loops called Infinity View. Say goodbye to your chin down, neck cranked, poor posture, dental procedure and practice. All you have to do is go to their website, submit a form in order to get your rep to reach out to you, get measured, and get your loops. And then you get 45 days to figure out if you like them or if there's anything that you want to change. Or you can just send them back. But I don't think you will. So buckle up, get ready to rock the Infinity View loops and say hello to a life filled with joy, comfort, and amazing posture. Thank you, Designs for Vision, for creating these beautiful loops. I can't go back to my old ones. Ever. Welcome back to another episode of the Tooth or Dare podcast, peeps, with your peep Irene. I am very excited for today. I'm excited about every episode, but I'm particularly excited about episodes where I get to interview people that I'm closely friends with and know some deep, dark secrets about. So I'd like to welcome today's guest, who is someone who is known for creating scroll-worthy smiles. I feel like I've spent quite a few hours at night just like scrolling through your before and afters on your Instagram. My dear friend, Dr. Andi-Jean Miro. She's not your average dentist. She's a superhuman as a human. She's a powerhouse as a dentist who has a particular flair for creating beautiful smiles that are kind of that fine line between perfection and natural beauty, which we all strive to achieve in our restorative lives. You honed your skills at NYU and checked not all of the boxes, but all of the crowns at the same time. And you specialized your focus in aesthetic dentistry immediately in school and then right after school, where you did a residency in Brooklyn. And then shortly after that, you were welcomed in 2014 to be the very first female and still only female dentist at APA Aesthetic in NYU in New York. And now spearheading the new clinic in LA, where you've just like taken everything over and are just crushing it. I'm so proud of you for all of the things that you do, but also for that big move. And if that's not enough, you've devoted whatever remaining time you have to educating other dentists to create aesthetic and beautiful cosmetic smiles with your company that you founded called Scribe, where you pay it forward, and through your course called Art of Ceramics, you deliver this content in Canada, in the US, and then UK to help small groups of dentists, like small 30 group, hands-on 2-day, very immersed groups of people to be able to do what you do. But I'm sure it's not so easy. So I don't know.
Anytime I'm feeling down on myself moving forward, I'm just going to re-listen to that introduction where you make it sound so amazing. But I'm excited to break it down, because when you list someone's accolades like that, it seems so glamorous. But
those aren't even the accolades. Those aren't the awards. That isn't the like Rising Star of Envy Award from the AACD, which you also earned, and like all of these other podiums that you've spoken and taken and done. Like those are just like that's just your everyday life, which is pretty freaking glamorous. And you're a dog mom, so like 10 points for Gryffindor.
Definitely.
So welcome to the Truth of Your podcast. I'm surprised that we haven't done one of these episodes before.
Seriously, how did we not? I'm not understanding how we have let it go this far. I feel like we've been planning this for a while. Yeah.
It's also this like this weird friend thing that happens when you actually know someone.
Yeah.
You feel like, oh, well, like everyone knows Andy. Like and then I realized, well, no, not everyone knows her. So let's invite her and do the official podcast thing. So
let's do it.
Where
Let's
are you
do
today?
it.
Like where in the world is Andi right now?
I am home. I, have been trying to balance my peace with my work-life balance. So when I feel like I've had a week or I need a little breather, one thing about Andi in LA, definitely happier Andi, is she knows when she needs a little break. So today I took a little personal day, and I'm excited because now I can be here with you and I don't have to worry about rushing around or fitting it in. And that's something I really had to learn how to do, was manage my time to not feel like the world is all on my shoulders and I feel like it's all about to crash down. Like that's how I used to feel a lot when I was living in New York. And now being in LA, I'm trying to create a better balance on those things so that I can actually enjoy life and enjoy dentistry. So I am home in LA.
I feel like we'll get into more of that when we get into your life. And I love learning about humans, and I'm sure I'll learn something about you today that I didn't know too. But like, can we break it down? Like, let's start from the beginning. Let's start from birth. Like, where were you born? Where did you go to school? Did you play an instrument in elementary school band? Like, I need to know all of these things.
I love that. So I was born in Staten Island, New York. I was raised in Brooklyn, New York.
Where in Brooklyn? I love Brooklyn. Like,
not like the cool part of Brooklyn. It's not like Williamsburg or downtown Brooklyn. Like this is like the residential part of Brooklyn. I grew up in an area known as Midwood. And that's where I went to elementary school, junior high school. I even stayed in Brooklyn for college, and I went to St. Francis College in downtown Brooklyn. I was never good at instruments. I actually was the only student who dropped out of playing the flute because I really wanted to play the drums, and I was told it was more ladylike to play the flute. So I lost interest in that really early.
Flute and clarinet. I really wanted to play. I wanted to play the trumpet, and they're like, no, like you should play the clarinet. And I'm like, why? It's like, because the girls sit in the front with the skirts and they wear the cute outfits and they play the clarinet or the flute. I'm like, but I want to play the trumpet. In hindsight, I'm pretty happy that I didn't play the trumpet. Can you imagine me with like just the cheeks, the wrinkles that I would have had early in life? Like this is probably why I look the way that I look, because I played clarinet in elementary school.
Exactly. But I was a competitive athlete. I swam my whole life. When I went to college, I was a Division I swimming and water polo player. So I really enjoyed competing. And for me, being a part of a team was always something that was a part of my life. I grew up swimming from 4 years old on a competitive team all the way through college. And, in college, I decided I wanted to be in medicine. My family, my mom, my aunts, my uncles, they're all nurses. So I grew up around medicine, but I knew that I didn't want to be a nurse. I knew that I didn't want to be an MD. I was always really creative. Like if you dated back to doing your nails as a kid, like I used to get a drill and I used to do acrylic nails on my nails. And then I would use like a power drill to shape acrylic nails. Like, I swear to you, like this was my childhood. So I grew up with this like drill in my hand, not knowing that I would become a dentist. Growing up, my family dentist, Dr. Bill Bongiorno, who's actually an instructor at NYU Dental School and was my instructor when I was there. He was my family dentist growing up, and he asked me, he's like, why don't you come in and see like what I do? And I was blown away at what he was doing. He was getting people out of pain. The patients in his office were happy, and they had beautiful shiny teeth. And it was just like, I could do something like this. So I spent most of college shadowing in the dental office. and eventually became his assistant. And so that's when
How old were you when you were
I was in
shadowing?
college. So I was in college, like my first year of college.
What did you take as your undergrad?
I was a bio major with an IT minor. But when I graduated college, I was applying to dental school at that time, and I actually got waitlisted at 4 schools. And I had applied to 16 schools, didn't hear back from 12 of them. Was waitlisted at 4 of them, ended up getting into UPenn, Temple, and then finally NYU, which is where I ended up going. But it was a bit of a journey because I graduated college and my family and everybody wanted to celebrate me getting this bachelor's degree, but I hadn't reached my goal of getting into dental school. So it was so I didn't feel fulfilled at the time. And it wasn't until later in the summer, a couple months later, that I got into dental school. And that even was so dramatic because I knew I wanted to go to NYU. I had admissions offered to me from UPenn. And the night before I was moving in at my new apartment at UPenn, I sat there and I was like, this doesn't feel right. I don't think that this is where I belong. Like, I feel like I'm making a mistake. And it's no offense to UPenn. Like, it's a great school, but I was a New Yorker born and raised. Like, I had driven past NYU for an entire summer taking physics at Baruch College because I wanted to go to dental school and I wanted to get ahead. So I took physics during the summer. Like, what a terrible idea, right? At night school.
Sounds so great. Sign me up.
After lifeguarding all day long,
wonderful.
Lifeguard from 8 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock in the afternoon, 1 hour drive to Baruch College, passing NYU, passing the Rosenthal Aesthetic Institute of Dentistry. Okay. Being like, I want to go there. I want to do this. Not even knowing who Dr. Larry Rosenthal is, by the way. Talk about foreshadowing in life. And then I wrote the dean of admission at NYU in his email, and I just said to her, I'm like, listen, if there is a chance at me getting into NYU, it's now or never. Like, I am moving in tomorrow. I'm signing the lease. Like, this is it. And I didn't tell anybody that I did that because, like, what if it didn't work out? So the next day I'm moving in, and it's like 100 degrees in Philly. And I decide that a 3-story walk up is where I'm going to live. Okay. And so we're bringing up these air conditioners into this apartment, and my cell phone rings, and it's a 212 number. And the dean of admissions is like, listen, I know that you're moving in. I know that this is kind of out of left field, but that email, it really touched me. We do have a seat open. If you want to be part of our class of 2014, we would like to welcome you admission. And so I swear to God.
Pause a second.
It's wild. It's wild.
Wait a minute. So you apply and you get an acknowledgement?
A wait list,
like,
yeah.
We received your whatever, you're on the wait list.
I went for an interview. I went through the whole process.
What was the interview process like? Because NYU is renowned for being a difficult school to get into. And
definitely
a very expensive school to get into. So how many interviews does one have to do?
So you apply for your spot in the class with a master application. That goes to all the schools. Yeah, exactly. And then each school will offer you an interview. Basically, sometimes they'll offer you just questions, like a preliminary interview. And if you pass that, you're welcome for an in-person interview. At the time, NYU, they've changed it since, but they had a one-on-one interview you'd have somebody in the school would sit down with a student, and it would be a one-on-one interview. And I remember going for this interview, and I guess a lot of people lie on their applications about how many hours they've shadowed, because the first question he asked me was, about how long have you shadowed in dentistry? At this point, I've been doing assisting for Dr. Mongiorno for about 3 years. So I was like, oh, I mean, at least 3 years worth of time, like a couple days a week. And he's like, okay, this question should be really easy for you then if you've assisted. I said, okay, no problem. He's like, name 5 extraction instruments. And so I label them off and he goes, oh, thank God. Every time I ask this question, people say they have 10,000 hours of shadowing and they can't name an elevator. They don't know what a forceps is. And he's like, that's how I weed out the strong and the weak. And I said, okay, that's an interesting one. Okay, let's keep going. And I thought I had a great interview. But then I got put on the wait list.
But he's actually 5'2", and blames it on a typo.
That's
neat.
That's
so cool.
Exactly it.
Yeah,
that's exactly it.
Typo. That 5 and the 6 is so close.
Oh, yeah. I'm dyslexic is what it was. They just flipped those numbers. Yeah, right. But yeah, so, I was sitting there on this wait list. I end up getting in and,
so how much was this walk up? I need to know. New York to me is like the most fascinating place on the planet. I would move there in a heartbeat if I was offered a position, perhaps at an office that you may or may not know of. But I feel like it's just the most ridiculous place to live because everything is so tiny, itty bitty, teeny tiny, and super.
That's expensive. New York.
That's New York 6 City. Days in New York last week, and I needed to give my credit card a detox because a coffee is $7. What is happening in the world? So how much?
You think that's bad? LA is even worse. My teeny tiny little place in New York. So I didn't even live in the city during dental school. I commuted.
Philly.
No, I commuted I was going to live in Philly. I was moving in at Philly. I paid rent for 4 months in Philly because I had signed a lease that said I'm responsible for this. So until they re-rented it, I had to pay that rent. So I lost a lot of money, but I was living in Brooklyn. I was still living at home and commuting to the city to go to NYU every day. And I
you had to take a bus.
Loved it.
Take a bus to get to the train. If you were living where I think you were living.
Train, bus.
Train,
yeah, it was ridiculous.
Walk. Switch train, more walk, another train, more walk. It's like the Kim Kardashian audio.
It's not so fun.
Bar, plane, another car, another plane, another club.
People are gonna watch us and be like, they're just having too much fun here. We're just sitting in on their girl talk. I love it.
You should see us after a couple of tequilas.
Oh man.
Story for another day. Okay, so then you get into you go to dental school.
So I go to dental school.
How did you know you wanted to get into aesthetic and cosmetic dentistry as a focus?
You know what's crazy? I mean, in your first year, there's no talk of aesthetic dentistry. There's this is how you prep a tooth. This is how you make a filling stick. This is all the science that you need to know about doing dentistry. There's no exciting part of dentistry in the first year of dental school, except this one lecture that I attended. And I remember it so vividly as being one of the most influential points in that first year. Towards the end of my first year, we were having our first aesthetic lecture. And Dr. Larry Rosenthal, who, for those of you who don't know who he is a legend in cosmetic dentistry. He is somebody who used to do this procedure before anybody in dentistry really knew how to do this procedure. And he got up on stage and he started talking about this VIP experience, this luxury and spa-like experience at the dentist. And at the end of this lecture, he had a video of this male patient, and it was zoomed in just really, really close to his lips. And you could hear the audio, and he's talking about how these teeth changed his life, about the confidence that he had in himself since these teeth have gone in and how women love him more and how confident and all these things. And I'm thinking to myself, like, that is powerful. Like, holy, a dentist was able to change somebody's life. Like, they do not talk about that enough in dental school. That was something that lit this fire in me, that I knew I could hone all of the artistic part of me in dentistry, in this science, like nerd geek body. I could put both of those things together and really make an impact in dentistry. And it's crazy because what if I didn't go to that lecture? What if he didn't give that lecture? What if he wasn't as inspirational as he was? I wouldn't be sitting in front of you. I probably would have been a pediatric dentist. I definitely wouldn't have been in cosmetics. Like, my mother was pushing me, you should be a pediatric dentist. You should do this. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I actually really love this. So it's just a powerful part of one interaction changing your life.
In first year?
That was my first year, at the end of my first year. Yeah.
Did you meet him? Did you like go up to him after that lecture and be like, one day I want to work for you? Like what was that? Did you do that?
So at the end of the lecture, he goes like, if this is something that excites you, like, reach out to my office manager. He puts her email on the list, on the screen, and he is bum rush. Now, I don't know what you guys know about NYU, but the each class at NYU is about 400 students. And so at the end of the course, like
auditorium,
the big one, yes.
The big auditorium. Okay.
On the first floor. And so like, he's like, oh, I want my puppies now too.
Okay. You can
it's not fair.
This is Olivia. She's a rescue.
Hi.
She's recently
Hello.
adopted. And,
you're so cute.
She's uncertain if Lou is her husband or her brother now. We're hoping that they'll like each other soon.
Aw, takes a little time when they're just getting to know each other, you know? I know.
Okay. So big auditorium. I know that auditorium well.
So we're in that big auditorium and he gets bum rushed. And I'm like, I'm not the person that's going to like climb over these people. So I'm like, I'm going to figure out a different way. And so I remember, like, we fast forward a little bit, and I was part of a group that was like building an event. And I was like, you know what? I know Dr. Rosenthal's throwing an event. Like, what if I reach out to them and try to get them to come to my event to promote their event? And I was trying to get to know this person, obviously. And so he said, yes, he'd like to be a part of the event. He came, he showed up. I was talking to him for a little bit about my event, and we were talking about his, and the conversation was kind of flowing, me and Dr. Rosenthal. And I remember at the end of this conversation, he opens his wallet and he takes out this like super slick, like this business, you know how business cards are square? This is like a long and skinny business card. And I'm just like, damn, this guy's different. Like, what? Like, what is this? Like, this is so cool. Now, granted, this is like 13 years ago at this point, right? And so he was like, you know, I really enjoy talking to you. You should come to the office. Like, you know, message Jackie. Here's my information. Make sure she lets you come in. So I message about, I don't know, like 20-ish, 30-ish times. I call. No, Dr. Rosenthal does this to everybody. Like, you cannot come. No, don't worry about, like, I'm sorry, we can't. We're so busy. And like, I get it. They're running a business, you know, it's not a dental school. Right. And so I finally get that yes. And that was the first moment that I was like, oh my God, okay, I have to make a good impression. Like, you know, Andi during dental school was very different than Andi now. I definitely was not as confident in who I was. I didn't know how to walk in high heels. I wore no makeup. I mean, like, I had no injectables, no filler. Like, I look at her and I'm just like, oh, you're so cute. You're so innocent.
Yeah, so innocent,
you know?
And nerdy. Yeah,
so innocent.
Me too.
Like, I don't know.
We've changed.
We've changed a lot, like for the better. Like, this is the positives of growth over time. Like, and I just remember being in that office and just, it was so special, Irene. Oh my God. Like the first day I was there, they put in 2 patients' new smiles, Dr. Rosenthal and Dr. Appa, and then both of them had also prepped a case. So I saw patients come in one way and then leave in these temporaries that were just not what you were used to seeing at dental school. And
oh God,
it was art. It was art, Irene. And these people, the way that they practice, the music playing, the TVs in the ceiling, I mean, it is not like dentistry is portrayed. People 9 times out of 10 in the day, they'll come in and say to me, I hate the dentist. And I'm just like, you didn't even give it a chance. Like, I want to change your perception of what dentistry can be, because it's not all about discomfort. It can be about beauty too. It can be about feeling and looking good. And it's going to take a lot to change that narrative around dentistry. And I think that's why I've dedicated a lot of my life to teaching also, because if we are learning things as a practice of, now we are well over 15 dentists in 4 locations. If we can take all of that knowledge and give it to the dental community so that they can then be successful in their own practices, we will have a bigger effect on dentistry than me just keeping all of this information for myself. Like, how do we change the general public's idea of dentistry? It's by working with each dentist in all over the world. I mean, now we have courses all over, but it's about really starting there, and then we can have an impact on so many more patients. So kind of cool.
I love that.
I'm a nerd.
I know. I mean,
I am also a nerd.
Sorry. I post stuff about microscopes. Like, can we be any more nerdy? The 2 of us together, we're just like max nerd level. It's pretty high.
Right.
I love that you started your own, and I don't even say company because it's so much more than just a company, like a philosophy, a movement, a different way of teaching, and didn't do what I very shamefully did, which is fall into the classification of like, well, I'm going to be a speaker and I'll travel to Chicago and Greater New York and Yankee and Hinman and like do the podium thing and scrap my way through.
Why do you do that to yourself?
It's changing.
Do you even understand how much work it takes to be that person, Irene? Like, how dare you talk down at yourself? I'm so upset at you right now. You are killing it.
Yeah.
Stop. We have to stop this.
Like,
I know.
It's a lot. It's a lot. But no, what I'm trying to say is like, it takes work on both sides to do the thing that we are doing.
Yes.
But it's different when you're doing it for yourself than when you're doing it for someone else. And, for me, for example, all of the work that I put into all of the lectures that I create end up being delivered on a podium in front of 400 people, 500, 800, thousands of people sometimes. And that's it. Like, that's the end of the day. EOG arrives, they all go back to their respective homes. And like, I did it for somebody else's conference, which is fine. The paycheck still arrives in the mail, and the work to get the sponsorships still happen. All of that work was the same. It just goes in a different direction. Whereas you chose from the beginning to just do it for yourself. And I'm sure, you've been invited to speak at schools and speak at, different institutions and things, but you said somehow you're like, yes, great. Thanks. You want to come and hear me speak? Come to me versus me coming to you. Talk to me about
tell you
how that started.
So, everybody who talks to me about running a business, I am the worst businesswoman because I just want to create really cool. I don't care what it costs me. I don't care if I make money. For me, I do it because I just want to have something that I'm extremely proud of. And for me, when somebody tells me you can't do that, I'm not going to sit here. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say, watch me. I'm just going to do it. And so, one of the hard things that I combat in dentistry is, people sometimes in our profession get on stage and say things about dentistry. And one of the biggest things that I am at my core is I will never receive outside influence to make my opinion. I don't want somebody to pay me to say something. And so at our courses, one of the biggest things about Strive has been not to accept money for anything. So Strive only has paid for all of the dental equipment that you have at our courses. I don't accept anything for free because I don't want to have that person telling me what I need to say. So at our courses, I wanted to be able to get up on stage and say, I use this because this is the best product that I have found that does the job that I need it to do, not because this person is giving me money to do so. So that was my biggest motivator, to be very honest with you. And then I just thought, this is something that I've seen so many other people do. I'm sure that I'm going to make a lot of mistakes through the process. And trust me, I've made plenty of mistakes. I've lost money. I've made money. But it's really not about that. At the end of the day, it's about the 500 dentists that we've educated over 3 continents. Like that to me is the special part. When I have somebody in Germany, I had students from Indonesia, Taiwan come to Art of Ceramic, to me, Australia. To me, that is so amazing because it all started on this little platform, this little Instagram screen. And these people have believed in the message that we've put out, so much so to invest money to come to one of our courses. That I think is so powerful. And I don't take that for granted. And I hope I never will, because that I think is the guiding light of the company that I'm building. And my true passion is teaching. And I really enjoy it. It's what I really love,
Oh. And you've been able to learn, like, Dr. Rosenthal was a great mentor to you, and I'm sure he still is.
Yeah.
But you've received some great mentorship, and with that has probably come some tough love and some tough learning and some mistakes. I mean, when you do big work, sometimes you make big mistakes. That's just, you take that for what it is, and it comes down to really having to learn from it. Some of the best lectures that I attend and some of the best speakers where I sit in an audience and I look up at them and I'm like, I want to be like you when I grow up, are the ones that share those big moments that maybe some of us will never have those big mistakes because we don't take those big risks. Have you found that you had to be ready and do enough reps to build this company to where it is now? And if you would have started it maybe 5 years ago or 6 years ago, you just weren't ready for it?
100%. 100%. I think that's with everything. That's also with the dentistry, right? So like, I think about, the APA LA clinic opened 5 years ago. And 5 years ago, I was in LA for the opening. And this was one of our first offsites in the US. So we built LA. It was New York and Dubai at the time, and then we built LA. And I remember thinking to myself, like, I'd love to run LA. But Andi 5 years ago could not do what Andi today is doing because I just did not have enough reps. And, it's funny because obviously Dr. Michael Appin has been my mentor for the last 13 years now. And we've had amazing things that we've celebrated together, and we've done really cool. And in 2025, we plan on doing basically the highlight of us collaborating together is coming this coming year. And I'm really excited about all of those things. But one of the interesting things about him is he also sometimes would tell me when I'm not ready for something. And that kind of falls in that category of you can't do something. That's how Andi interprets it, right? Mm-hmm. And so, we've had amazing moments, but we've also had moments where I'm like, I don't agree with you. I think you're wrong. And looking back on a lot of those moments, I wasn't ready for the things that I was asking for. And so I think that's why I'm so appreciative now of all of the things that I do have, because I do feel ready to receive all of the things that are coming now. But Andi 5 years ago probably couldn't do to the level that she's doing now. I love how I'm talking about myself in the third person, but like
third person.
I
do that all the time.
But it really like I think about like her. She's people? Different. I do sometimes. Yeah. Like
I feel like I'm two different people.
100%. I feel like I'm coming into my own, Oh yeah, I know. Sometimes three. I love it.
Sometimes three. Oh, I mean, man. I'm never bored because I have to deal with all of my multiple personalities. Like I'm always, people are always wondering like, who's she going to be today?
I absolutely love that.
Let's just say goodbye to everyone and stay tuned for part 2 next week with my friend, Dr. Andi-Jean Miro. We'll talk about some clinical stuff.
Yeah. Thank you. Let's talk about teeth.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.